in the morning, and we're about to get started on our morning mobility session. How are you doing, friend? I hope you're doing all right. I know I'm doing fine. And I'm just going to set up the timer. It sounds like the microphone's working just fine. I'm going to set up the timer, and we are going to get started. We're going to do some mobility. Now, once we're done with mobility, I'm going to make a cup of coffee. And after that cup of coffee, I'm going to go out for a walk. And that's going to be the start of the morning. So I slept well. I hope you're having a good start or end of the day. And wherever you are, and let's get started. And as we're doing this, let's have a little chat about health and fitness, because yesterday I wanted to talk about health and fitness and strength and hypertrophy training and how I lost 2 kilograms in the last couple of weeks simply by doing two things a bit differently. And I think it's important to note that the weight loss in and of itself wasn't the goal, but it was a side effect of two changes I made to my schedule after injuring my back. So, but I didn't get around to talking about those things yesterday because I tried a new formula for the morning, which was to go for the walk first and to do the stream after. And guess what happened? At 6:30, instead of 7 a.m., one of the kids woke up. So that's when the day starts. And when the day starts, we don't have time to stream or to chat. We have time to focus on the family and on everything the family needs. And those are things that I need to prioritize and be mindful of. So stuff we need to work on. Superman S, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world, and I hope life is treating you well at the start or end of the day. For you, for me, it's 5:15 in the morning, so it's the start of the day here in Amsterdam. We're just doing some mobility, and then we're going to go out for a walk as the sun comes up. Short walk this morning, did a long walk yesterday. And today we're just going to do 30 minutes. Nothing special, but just get that movement in first thing in the morning. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, showing up for a workout, and generally spending time with people I love and care about, investing in my relationships, investing in the communities I'm a part of, doing things that I enjoy, and generally trying to live a stress-free life. And those are also things that we talk about here on the channel, specifically about health and fitness in our 40s, and how that is going to help us stay fit and healthy for life. Because we face quite a few challenges, right? If I look at the statistics for society, there are a lot of people who do not seem to move sufficiently, who are overeating, and more are developing various diseases and discomforts that are related to age that do not necessarily need to be suffered as we age. And I think a large part of the challenge in that reality lies in how we've designed our lives at the moment, but also in the choices that we might make every day to live well and live healthy, by the choices we make about sleep, the choices we make about nutrition, the choices we make about activity. The choices we make about how we invest in relationships and how we show up in different communities that we can be a part of. I think the internet may have opened some doors and options one way and created a whole slew of problems the other way. But those are more philosophical discussions. Very practically, there are things that we can do about our sleep. There are things that we can do about our nutrition. There are things that we can do about the levels of activity we have in our daily lives. That'll make the difference between being 65 and old and on a path to chronic disease and medication, or 85 and spry and alert and capable of doing a pull-up, a push-up, running a kilometer or two, and being able to take care of ourselves. And the investment, if you think about it, is relatively minimal. So, why does this matter to me personally within that context, right? Of a society that doesn't seem to be moving enough, sleeping well, eating well, growing more and more disconnected from each other. Well, first of all, I have 2 children who are going to grow up in this world. And I would like them to have a good example of what healthy and active looks like, that makes it easy for them to follow and to do. Because the younger they are, when they learn the good habits, more likely they are going to actually be when they grow older to follow them. And also to show them, that it is possible to get older and be healthy and capable and to maintain a certain level of fitness throughout life simply by focusing on the basics, which is sleeping well, which is eating well, which is moving sufficiently, and in that mix, adding some exercise, but not ridiculous amounts, because the goal is health, not bodybuilding or powerlifting or strength. So that's one reason. The second reason is that life expectancy in this country is 86 years old. All right, now I don't know how many 86-year-old people you know, but I don't know that many that got to 86 and stayed lean and strong and capable up until that point. But I know they exist. Because I've seen and read about them. I've heard about people who turn 100, 105, and are still capable and self-sufficient. Now, that should be inspiring in some way to help us understand that we can get older and stay fit, but a lot of it does depend on the lifestyle choices we make. And I know people are going to say, well, doesn't genetics play a role here? Sure. I'm sure they do. I'm sure we have a specific genetic makeup that influences how long-lived we can be. But at the same time, right, it's nice to focus on something we can't control and say, well, it is what it is. So I'm just going to do whatever we want. And then slowly start to suffer the consequences of that later. Or you can say, well, it is true. There are certain there are certain genetic factors that'll influence my ability to stay healthy and fit. Those are the things that I mostly cannot influence. So I think there are some things there that we can influence in terms of which genes are expressed or not through the lifestyle that we have. At the same time, there are a lot of things in the way I live that are going to influence how old I might become, that I do have some control over. And those are the ones that I am going to focus on and try to make sure that I make the most of. So that I can enjoy this life and all the good things it has to offer for a very long time. Roberto Gonzalez, hello, thanks for dropping by again. Good to see you again. And I hope you're doing well. And Adam, Adam, thanks for dropping by, and good to have you back, even if it was under another name before. And I appreciate you dropping by, all of you, and saying hi this morning, and that you're doing well where you are in the world. So, we are looking at the choices we can make every day that are going to keep us healthy and fitter. And it doesn't take a lot, right? But I'm going to tell you two things. So first of all, someone asked me about the difference between training for strength and training for hypertrophy, right? And there is overlap between those two goals. So strength means being able to lift the heaviest weight you possibly can in that one repetition, getting as strong, producing as much force and power as you possibly can. Whereas hypertrophy means using resistance training to increase the size of your muscles. All right, and the way you look. Now, the factor that they both have in common is that they both use modalities of strength training. However, when we're training for pure strength, right, we'd focus more on lower repetition ranges, so 1 to 3, heavier weights, and more rest. You know? And we'd work into creating the adaptations that are going to allow us to move that load, that very heavy load, to gain that strength that we're looking for. Whereas when we're training for hypertrophy, we're going to increase the rep ranges and we're going to bring down the load slightly, so we can produce that volume, and we're trying to create that neuromuscular damage that needs to be repaired, and more of it, to also increase the volume of muscles that we have. So strength, greater weights, lower rep ranges, hypertrophy, slightly lower weight, not a lot, but a higher volume of repetitions that we're after. And the different training modalities there will yield very different results. There's a lot of nuance there, but those are probably the key denominating factors in programming and training for yourself. So it comes down to the question of what your goal is. If your goal is to get stronger and someone prescribes you a workout that says 3 times 10 repetitions, you need to ask them, well, is this a program geared towards strength or towards hypertrophy? And you can exert some control over that right now. Okay? Read up on it. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot to be learned about different modalities of training. But that would be the summary there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because someone asked about it. But I think it's also important for us to realize that for general health and fitness, we want to get a bit stronger. We want to increase our muscle mass. We want to build our overall aerobic capacity to produce output, to work, to show up and do the work. We want to how should I put it? I think one of the kids woke up, needs a bathroom break. Can hear some people whispering upstairs. But it seems like everything is under control with their amazing mom. So what happened after I injured my back? Well, after I injured my back, I decided immediately that I wasn't going to be lifting weights for a while, which haven't been doing for about 3 weeks now. Yeah. And having not been lifting weights, I realized, or knowing that I wouldn't be able to lift weights, I realized that my activity levels were going to drop tremendously if I was not going to figure out something that I could do to at least maintain some semblance of the rather vigorous and intense activity of swinging 8, 12, 16, 20 kilos of weight around, right? So there were different challenges that I was trying to land in. So what did I do? I decided to start walking. I already would go for like one walk somewhere during the day, but I decided to make the morning walk a part of my routine. It's spring, going on to summer. I was already trying to incorporate a bit more outdoors activity into the routine, and this seemed like a great opportunity to do that. Plus, given the amount of stiffness in my hamstrings, glutes, and back, I figured the only thing that actually kept me Limber was walking at the time. Geese 88, good morning. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. I hope life is treating you well. This evening, I think it is for you, where it is morning for me. So I started walking, and I really enjoy walking. I enjoy being outdoors. And I started walking into dawn, and I would meet deer and rabbits and birds, hawks, flying around where I'd walk, and it would just be an amazing experience. And at the same time, I'm not sure if you remember, I've been talking about my protein intake and some changes that I feel might need to make to the quantity and quality of protein that I'm getting. So I've been thinking about this, and one of the recommendations by a PhD, a doctor called Walter Longo, who's an outspoken voice, I think, in longevity. Like I'll put him into the list of Peter Attia, David Sinclair, Brian Johnson. What's the other one called? Michael Greger, who's like the vegan advisor. It's maybe a bit of an acquired taste. And Walter Longo, and I started to, Rhonda Patrick, I think, is one of the more prominent female voices on this topic. And Walter Longo and Michael Greger say the same thing. They say that, well, plant-based is going to keep you alive longer. So I started thinking about this. I was like, well, I want to do what is best for me, so what's the worst that's going to happen if I cut down on animal-based proteins? What's going to happen? And besides, I know that if I eat salads and a lot of greens, I'm fuller for longer, so it's probably going to be easier for me to maintain my weight now that I'm not able to do as intensive workouts as I'm able to do. So for 2 weeks, I started to go for walks. I actually walked 2 to 3 hours a day, not in one consecutive session, but morning, afternoon, and evening, 45 to 60 minutes each time. And each time at a reasonable pace. And guess what happened? I slimmed down. Now, a bit of that is going to be some loss of lean mass, also because I'm not really challenging my body to lift any sort of weights or do anything of the sort, right? So let's just be mindful of that. I have some rebuilding to do. I keep my protein intake up around 1 gram per kilogram of body weight at the moment. Could be more. But this seems to be working. It's hard to do that without weights. This seems to be working for me. There you go, right? Maybe you can tell me a bit more about sources you use to figure out what works. But it's just important to realize that the net effect of the extra walking would already work out for 30 to 60 minutes in the morning, but exchange that for walking at a low intensity, barely hitting zone 2 in my heart rate, but walking at a pace that is, at the end of zone 1, beginning of zone 2, and simply making a simple change in my diet. I think the change in the diet is more of a driver than anything else. So my body is adapting and reacting to that. Resulted in the net loss of, give or take, 2 kilos. I'm going to move to the kitchen for some coffee, and we can continue the conversation from here as you stare at the bananas. Let's see. I'm just going to put on a sweater. It's 5:41. We've got a few more minutes. There we go. All right. So, that being said, I think it's just important to realize and understand that little changes and little things we can do can have a big impact on what kind of health outcomes we have. I think that this is about as lean as I would want to be. Meaning, can you see my six-pack? No. But that is also not a necessity for me. That is not a goal. I don't have an aesthetic goal. Remember, I always say this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. And life can throw a lot at us. So that is the thing that we need to be mindful of. Is that different goals. That's why I started off also talking about strength versus hypertrophy training. Different goals will come with different outcomes and different training programs. So am I considering switching completely plant-based? I'm not sure. I enjoy meat. I enjoy good food in general. But I do have certain concerns about the quality of certain foods that are being produced in mass quantities, and also about the welfare of the animals. So there are different conversations to be had there with myself over time. But if I can get good results, by and at the same time have a somewhat positive impact on the world, I'm not sure why I wouldn't pursue that as a goal as well. But it's going to be hard to get meat off the menu in the house. So I think there are other people here who think meat is a staple and enjoy eating it. So, we'll see what that implies for me as a person. But yeah, so walks and that didn't go quite right. Walks, different training modalities, a back that is recovering well given time, and it's about sunrise is about to hit, so I'm going to enjoy actually going out for a walk and being outdoors as the sun comes up, as we sip that cup of coffee this morning. That's something that I'm looking forward to. What are you looking forward to this morning? It is Wednesday morning. Friday, Saturday morning is going to be a bit of a weird morning because I'll be traveling. So you'll be able to see where I arrive. I'll try to do a stream when I get there, but there won't be a stream Saturday morning, regular time, because I will be on an airplane at that time. And that means I need to be at the airport at 3 a.m. So you can already imagine the kind of day that's going to be. But it's going to be a good day, because we're going to arrive at a place where, if you go back into the coffee machine is making a lot of noise. If you go back into my streams, actually look at last year, where I started in Portugal during the Christmas holiday. Half a year before, we were in Mallorca. And we were in Mallorca. And that's where I finally found my groove again. That's where it all actually started, with a lot of body weight training. So it's going to be nice to be back there with my newfound fitness, and to also do some workouts and some streams right there from that same beach, and from that same gym, and from that same location. I'm looking forward to that. Do you have any other questions about generally health, fitness, longevity? I mean, there are a lot of different things that I could talk about. But if you don't, then I think we're going to call it a morning. And we're going to say, there, when it comes to weight loss, right? If that is a goal we're after, changing up the level of activity, changing up the type of activity, changing up the quality and type of the diet and intake, can have an interesting impact in the short term. I think the risk here, of course, is, and the challenge here is that these things might be very true for the short term. But now that I have reached a level of leanness or lower fat mass that I would like to be at, can I maintain it and build muscles on top of that without adding back too much fat, right? Too much soft tissue. So the main goals for me still remain unchanged. The main goal is to show up every day for 30 minutes and to do a workout, and to keep active throughout the day on top of that workout. The goal is to maintain weight over time, in the sense that I would like to exchange more soft tissue for lean mass, so increase my muscle volume, decrease my fat mass over time. That got accelerated a little bit unintentionally by some force changes because of the back injury and the change in lifestyle. I'd like to get my 8 hours of sleep, and I would generally like to adopt a pattern of sleep, nutrition, activity, relationships and community that is going to keep me healthy and alive for as long as I can. If those are things that you're interested in, and then we can continue the conversation, and I'll keep telling you about what I'm doing and what's going on in my life, and you can let me know what's going on in yours, and we can be on this journey together and learn together how to live healthier, more active and more adventurous lives in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe even to our 70s and 80s, if we are fortunate enough to stay healthy as we get there. In the meantime, I want to drink my cup of coffee. Friend, thanks for joining. I appreciate you dropping by. Remember that you're good just the way you are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow. And remember, friends, subscribe.